My son, bring the old party round. I have got some jokes in my lecture that will make him laugh if there is any laugh in him, and if they misfire, I have got some others that'll make him cry or kill him, one or the other." Then the young man wept on my neck, and presently spread both hands on my head, and looked up towards heaven, mumbling something reverently, and then he went after his uncle. He placed him in full view in the second row of benches that night, and I began on him. I tried him with mild jokes, then with severe ones. I dosed him with bad jokes, and riddled him with good ones. I fired old stale jokes on him, and peppered him fore and aft with red-hot new ones. I warmed up to my work, and assaulted him on the right and left, in front and behind. I fumed, and charged, and ranted, till I was hoarse and sick and frantic and furious. But I never moved him once. I never started a smile or a tear, never a ghost of a smile, and never a suspicion of moisture. I was astounded. I closed the lecture at last with one despairing shriek, with one wild burst of humour, and hurled a joke of supernatural atrocity full at him. It never fazed him. Then I sat down bewildered and exhausted. The president of the society came up and bathed my head with cold water and said, "What made you carry on so towards the last?" I said I was trying to make that confounded old idiot laugh in the second row. "Ah," he said, "well, you were wasting your time, because he is deaf and dumb and as blind as a badger." Now was that any way for that old man's nephew to impose on a stranger and an orphan like me?
Preface. Most of the adventures recorded in this book really occurred. One or two were experiences of my own, the rest those of boys who were schoolmates of mine. Huck Finn is drawn from life, Tom Sawyer also, but not from an individual. He is a combination of the characteristics of three boys whom I knew, and therefore belongs to the composite order of architecture. The odd superstitions touched upon were all prevalent among children and slaves in the West at the period of this story, that is to say 30 or 40 years ago. Although my book is intended mainly for the entertainment of boys and girls, I hope it will not be shunned by men and women on that account, for part of my plan has been to try to pleasantly remind adults of what they once were themselves, and of how they felt and thought and talked, and what queer enterprises they sometimes engaged in. The Author. Hartford, 1876. Chapter 1. "Tom." No answer. "Tom." No answer. "What's gone with that boy, I wonder? You, Tom." No answer. The old lady pulled her spectacles down and looked over them about the room. Then she put them up and looked out under them. She seldom or never looked through them for so small a thing as a boy. They were her state pair, the pride of her heart, and were built for style, not service. She could have seen through a pair of stove lids just as well. Finish, for by this time she was bending down and punching under the bed with a broom, and so she needed breath to punctuate the punches with. She resurrected nothing but the cat. "I never see the beat of that boy." She went to the open door and stood in it, and looked out among the tomato vines and jimpson weeds that constituted the garden. No Tom. So she lifted up her voice at an angle calculated for distance, and shouted, "You, Tom!" There was a slight noise behind her, and she turned just in time to seize a small boy by the slack of his roundabout and arrest his flight. "There! I might 'a' thought of that closet. What you been doing in there?" "Nothing." "Nothing? Look at your hands, and look at your mouth.